Look, we take our top hats, we put them aside for a round. I didn't want to be gentlemanly anyway, all right? I don't want to be gentlemanly this series. I feel alive, all right? Because we got actual stakes. We got actual playoffs here, all right? Not an easy breezy run to the finals like it was in 2020. Gonna be a little bit of fight back and forth. As PJ Tucker said actually after the first game, he said it's gonna be a long series. PJ sensed it then, and I'm guessing he senses it now. So we're all even, 2 games apiece. Miami Heat, they lose a tough one on Sunday in Game 4 to the Philadelphia 76ers. You know, Game 3 was kind of an ass-kicking. Heat were hanging around for a little bit there in the third quarter, thanks to Jimmy Butler, who's been amazing the first couple games of this series. And, you know, all the story, and I guess, you know, rightfully so because they won, is going to be Harden and how he was just hitting all these clutch shots late, very surprisingly, to clinch Game 4 for them. But I thought Jimmy Butler was just masterful in this game for the Miami Heat, and really has been. You look around, and you're just like, man, can this guy get any support? Can anybody nail a damn three-pointer for Jimmy Butler to give him a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of leeway, because he puts up 40 and 6 yesterday for the Miami Heat in a really, really great performance from him. But they end up losing 116 to 108. Just these clutch threes down the end of this game by Niang, and James Harden was hitting the crazy step backs and did look like he turned back the clock. You know, everybody was throwing dirt on this guy and burying him. Guilty. And he had himself a performance, man. He had himself the performance why the Sixers make that trade and give Joel Embiid a running mate, who I thought Joel Embiid, listen, he's definitely made an impact on this series. Don't get me wrong. He's been really gutsy that he had in that first game, playing with the busted eye and the thumb, which he actually says is bothering him even more. But, you know, kind of came out of the gate hot in this one, but really I thought that he did a good job of slowing him down. Now, he still got to the free throw line a ton, and especially in that third quarter where the Heat were in the bonus. You know, the Sixers were in the bonus with, like, I don't know, 8 minutes left. Bam got in foul trouble. He was out, and the Heat had to find a way to weather that storm and ended up winning the quarter. You know, they ended up cutting their halftime deficit in half. But what really I thought did them in were a couple of things. One, the three-point shooting has been so piss poor for the Miami Heat. And we'll get to that in just a second. But also, I mean, you had this opportunity there at the start of the fourth quarter. No Joel Embiid in there. Bam back out of foul trouble. And the Sixers started off the quarter on such a hot run. And that really doomed Miami. I mean, they still had, you know, an opportunity to get there within striking distance. This point where Jimmy Butler comes down, he takes a three, he misses it. And the Sixers come back and they hit a three of their own. And that was a real kick in the junk. That was a real backbreaker for Miami, because, you know, you're going back and forth, you're going shot for shot. There's some good defensive plays, there all that type of stuff, but that to me was one of those where you're just like, oh, I don't know if they're going to come back from that one. I don't know if they're going to be able to maintain that. And it was a real killer. It was a real killer from that standpoint. The Sixers, obviously, with them having Joel Embiid, it's been a big thing. He's been a monster for them. He were in a lot of foul trouble in this game. It was a brutal third quarter to watch. I mean, it was on both sides. It was parade to the free throw lines left and right. Just tons of free throws in this game. Slow pace, crawl. But on the other side of this thing, it's like, you look at it, if you're a Heat fan, and you're kind of looking at probably the same way the Sixers were the first couple games. Spell mentioned this after the game. It's just like, you look at a game where you're going tit for tat with Joel Embiid and James Harden and everything they got going on there. They're at home, building's rocking. Your role players are pooping the bed. And you get nothing from Max Strus. You get nothing from Gabe Vincent. You get nothing from PJ Tucker on the offensive end, really. You're not getting anything from Kyle Lowry, which will, you know, feel like it needs its own video onto itself. And you're just begging for a three-pointer. The one that disappoints me, I would say, the most out of all of this is Tyler. Because I don't look at Tyler Hero as a role player on this team. You know, we've been talking about Tyler Hero all year as, you know, more than a role guy. Sixth man of the year, certainly, but we were sitting here defending him against Charles Barkley, saying he's not a guy who just plays against scrubs, and you're dying to start. You want all these accolades. You want to put yourself in the conversation with John, Trey, and Luke. I know it's not the direct quote, but we get the idea. Like, he considers himself one of the young stars in this league. And one of the young stars in this league, when his sidekick essentially needs him there in Jimmy Butler, and he gives you 11 points. And that's what Tyler's there for. You know, like, it's one thing for Bam, who I was pretty down on in that third quarter getting into foul trouble, because I do feel like his only run there was when Embiid was out. But he showed me something in that fourth. I thought Bam, the defense that he played on Joel Embiid, plus some of the buckets that he came out with late, like, he really stepped up in that fourth quarter when it was really, really needed, and somebody needed to do something for Jimmy. But Tyler didn't, and Tyler's not really there. You know, he got his hands into a couple passing lanes and things like that, and had a couple of steals. But, you know, we know that he's not going to be there locking up anybody. And if anything, people are going to probably be trying to pick on him defensively. This is not a guy who you can afford to give you stinkers on the road. You can't. Like, Tyler Hero, if he considers himself in this class, whatever names you want to throw in there, if he considers himself more than a role guy, if I'm supposed to grade him higher than Max Strus, if I'm supposed to grade him higher than Gabe Vincent, which I believe I am, and I believe Jimmy is. Jimmy said, quote, after the game on game 2, that Tyler Hero is going to be a big reason why we win it. And I looked at that game and just like, I can't get 11 points from Tyler. I need more than that. I need more than 4 total from Tyler Hero. I need more than 2 free throws from Tyler Hero. Well, we're getting a parade to the free throw line. And Jimmy's getting to the free throw line 13 times, and Oladipo's getting to the free throw line 10 times. You know, there's a quick trigger on that whistle tonight. I need an aggressive Tyler Hero. I need a guy who, you know, showed a couple flashes. He had some nice buckets in there, but like, you need more punch. And there's just so many times where like he seems like he's getting swallowed up, bottled up, and is throwing the pass away, and conscious effort to take him away or what. Like, this is what comes with being a focal point of a team. And you don't think they're trying to do that to Jimmy? You don't think they're trying to do that to John Moran? Or we saw that what the Heat were able to do to Trae Young, but you have more support than Trae Young does. You have Jimmy Butler on your side. You know, you have Bam Adebayo on your side. And for me, I look at that and I'm just like, if they could have gotten a little bit more punch. And in a game where, look, the Heat allowed 54% shooting, and the 3-point shooting was just, the disparity is just crazy. I mean, they shot 16 of 33, so nearly 50% from 3, and the Heat were 7 of 35. And you looked at Tyler Hero and you're just like, 1 of 5, need a couple more threes from him. Need him. Just like, if you would have thought, if like he could have gotten a couple possessions on these runs that Jimmy was on, and there could have been a couple of stops, back-to-back possessions, they got in a 3, a couple of threes on him, how much different this game would have swung. And I know it. That's the name of the game. That's the playoffs. But I looked to this, I'm just like, man, what are the things that are disappointing about this one? Well, one, thought we had a hesitant Max Strus who, you know, had a tough night at the defensive end, fouling out of the game. Gabe Vincent, early foul trouble, 3 fouls in 3 minutes. Thought Victor Oladipo played a pretty solid game. Not the prettiest game from the floor, no doubt. But again, I grade them differently. Like, it's Victor Oladipo on the mend, coming back. This is what, his 11th game since his arrival. This is his 4th postseason game, or 6th postseason game. But, you know, is really just making his way back. And we're talking about, hey, it's on the man. I thought that he was aggressive. He obviously was getting these guys to foul him. You know that he's can be detrimental on the defensive side of the floor. It was, I think, a team high minus, a team low minus 12 during the game. But I still felt like I felt like Vic had an impact on certain spots. With Tyler, it's just like you're not getting that detriment from the defensive end. So you want to see that aggression kind of tick up from him, not be shy about things. Same thing with Max Strus. Like, Max Strus, the whole point of him being out there is Max Strus will shoot. And there was one point where it was a possession where Max didn't shoot the 3, maybe a little contested, but you know that's never scared him before. He kicks it off to PJ. PJ just like stares at the rim from 3 and is just like not shooting it. Eventually shoots it, bricks it, comes down. Danny Green hits a 3-pointer. And it's just like, man, that was the swing of it. And Danny Green is haunting every Heat fan, because you're going back to 2014, thinking about those finals games, and he was like 7 threes on game 3, and he was 3 of 4 this game. So he's been lighting it up from downtown. And that really has been a big shift on this thing. Is one, Joel Embiid has come back, certainly has made a big impact on what they've done. Although Jimmy Butler was cooking him. I mean, Jimmy Butler was, I think he was like 5 of 6 with Joel Embiid as his primary defender, something like that. So Jimmy was giving him that work and was getting fouled as well. And I do think that with Joel, like, you're seeing a guy who, is definitely making an impact, but I do think maybe not in the conditioning because he had to take a little bit of time off, or maybe he's just wearing out because they're they said they were going to give him limited minutes, and they've been playing him a bunch in these first couple of games, like 38, 41. They're working their stars. Their stars are playing a lot of minutes. So that was the big takeaway from this one for me, man, is first of all, James Harden, congratulations. You had a semi-important playoff game. Your team definitely couldn't go down 3-1, and you showed up clutch. Wow. It's like there's a first time for everything. Congratulations to him. Joel Embiid's definitely made an impact. I thought that he really was giving Bam a handful, especially in that first quarter. Certainly Bam getting fouled. They're giving every tie goes to Embiid. That's how it's going. Like any wrestling, any jockeying for position, they're giving Embiid. And I'll never understand how a guy who's the biggest guy on the floor can fall to the floor as easily as he does. Like, he falls to the floor the way Kyle Lowry should fall to the floor. Kyle Lowry's the smallest guy on the court. He's flying all over the place. He's embellishing. Like, that's how Embiid is, and he's 7'1", nearly 300 pounds. And he's just out there just windsock. These Harden fouls. Ugh, ridiculous. So I think the thing that is that a lot of Heat fans are going to point to in a game like this where you're struggling from three is definitely going to be Duncan Robinson not playing again. He has played 1 minute in this series. He makes $90 million. But we do know that the Heat made a conscious decision after the whole 4-game losing streak. They changed the rotation. They went to Max Strus. And Duncan's playing time was whittling away, game by game. And it was kind of obvious of what was going down, that they were going in a place that was more defense for his spacing. But I do feel like there came a point yesterday where I would have liked to see just what could you do with him out there? Just the gravity that he brings, all that type of stuff that you have believed in the past with him. I would have liked to see the Heat go in that direction. I would have liked to see Spo go in that direction. Because at that point, what's the harm? And I kept, I put that suggestion out early. Pied Piper felt like everybody was kind of following me thereafter. Because it was right after that Max Strus hesitation three where he was just like, I'm like, that's not Max Strus. Like, that's Duncan Robinson. What Max Strus just did there, hesitating to shoot a three, that's why he took the job from Duncan Robinson. Not because he's making more threes or not because he's a better shooter, because he's not scared. And he's not supposed to hesitate. He's supposed to pull the trigger. And so when I see Max Strus who is scared to pull the trigger, you might as well have Duncan Robinson out there. He's a better shooter. And yeah, you could say, oh, well, Max brings more defensively. Not yesterday, he didn't. Not yesterday. Yesterday, he was a fouling machine. And quite frankly, it wasn't a very defensive game. It was a game where the Sixers were shooting like 63% at one point. So you need to go blow for blow. You're 20% from three. If you are average from three, you might win that game going away. And so I would have liked to see it, but I get it. You also have to be at a point where you're Spo, where you have to trust your guys and you have to trust your shooters and you have to believe with what brought you. But, once you get to the playoffs and you're at nut crunch time, it really is, it's a different beast. It's a different beast. So we're at a point, it's 2-2, going back to Miami for game 5. And I thought Charles Barkley said it best. Listen, the pressure is still on Philly. They got to win in Miami. But the momentum does feel like it has swung in the series a little bit. But momentum's a very fickle thing here. Don't forget, everybody was burying James Harden's career 2 days ago. Now everybody's saying he's the perfect fit for the Sixers. Nobody wanted to give him a max deal 48 hours ago. Now everybody's ready to throw James Harden another MVP party. There's some people who are like, oh, Joel Embiid is going to be extra motivated for not winning the MVP. Nikola Jokic gets it. Like, I will say, I thought Joel Embiid should have won the MVP over Jokic. I know Jokic was able to have a fantastic year again without Michael Porter Jr. or without Jamal Murray. I get it. I mean, he also broke a neck this year. Like, he's, might as well just given the stone cold stunner to Markieff Morris, who, also suffered an embarrassing blow to Embiid last night with that block. But I thought Embiid should have won the MVP. I thought that he should have been the pick. Now, is he going to be motivated? I mean, I think he's going to be as motivated as the Heat are to protect home court. I don't think that's going to be a thing. I don't think it's going to cause Joel Embiid to drop 40 on the Heat. He drops 40 on the Heat, it's probably because he's really good. But I do think that I liked things that I liked out of this game because I'm not panicking. You know, there are Heat fans who are like, oh, like, welcome to the playoffs, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is what the playoffs is. The playoffs is supposed to be big swings of momentum. You know, Phoenix fans who are right now free, like, this is what it's supposed to be. You go to the road, a great player wins games. You go to their building, the great player wins games, the role players play better. The Heat need better out of their role guys. They need better out of Tyler Hero, who usually is better at home. And they hopefully can continue to get what they've been getting from their star in Jimmy Butler, who has been just absolutely dynamite in these on those 2 road games. And I think that's the thing that's frustrating, is that Jimmy had performances on the road that were good enough to get wins. You know, when you say, hey, you're a superstar, do everything you can, you know you have to do a little bit more. He did that. And he just needed a little bit more step up from the supporting cast, and he really, really didn't get it. He really didn't get it. And I think that's the most disappointing thing out of these games. I was ready to, hit the panic button on Bam a little bit versus Embiid, but I really thought I saw some very important things in that fourth quarter from Bam. Probably going to need a little bit more, though. You know, like, it's one of these things where it's tough to ask that because you realize he's being guarded. He has to go front Embiid, and he has to go try and stop Embiid and not get into foul trouble. And then also, hey, can you go stop James Harden on the wing? Like, he's asked to do a ton defensively, a ton. But, you know, especially with Kyle Lowry, which I'm going to get into a little bit later in another video, with that situation being what it is, you're going to need more from Bam and you're going to need more from Tyler, because that's the trio right now. It's the same trio that it was, you know, back in the finals run. It's Bam, it's Jimmy, it's Tyler, you know. And in this case, like, you're losing Goran a lot sooner, and hopefully Bam stays healthy. But they're going back home. You got to think the shooting is going to get better. You got to think that those guys will perform a little bit better, but what changes will come? Look, man, this is about feeling alive, man. The playoffs, it's the juice right here, right? You got to, as Pat Riley says, this stuff is hard, all right? And you got to stay together if you got the guts, all right? You don't have the guts up 3-1. You don't have the guts up 2-0. You don't have the guts when you are about to sweep somebody. You have the guts when you're facing elimination, or you're down 2-1 in a series, or you're tied 2-2 and need a big swing game in Game 5. That's when you have to have the guts. Not when it's easy to have the guts. If that was the case, we just call it the stomach. You got to have the gut. You got to have the what's in here. That's the guts. So Heat Nation, I ask you, if you got the guts, are you good? Or are you going to be all scared because Joel Embiid showed up? I ask you, maybe you're terrified. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question for you. I know what I am. I'm excited. I feel alive, baby.